Hi everybody, my name is Luis Mancheno. I was born and raised in Quito, Ecuador. I currently live in New York and I am 30 years old. My story is a little long and a little complicated of how I came out to my parents, how I came out to my family, but I would say that the best way to start is to go back to when I was 18 years old. I was living in Quito at the time, and I had just finished high school and I was going to college. And back then, you didn't have Grindr or didn't have any phone apps that would allow you to connect with people. And in Ecuador, there was only this one gay bar. And when you're coming out and when you're not sure about your sexuality, it's really hard for you to really have the courage to go to a gay bar. So what I did instead was to go online and go into this website called gay.com. And on gay.com, I met some other gay guy who lived in Ecuador, and I started chatting with him online. And eventually I got to meet him in person. It was a really powerful experience to meet somebody who was just like you. When you're gay, you think that you're alone. So by meeting this person, it just made me feel that I was just not as weird as I thought I was. That there was somebody else who was exactly like me. Unfortunately, as I was meeting him and hanging out with him, Quito, you have to know, is a smaller city, and at least the places where my family and my friends would hang out would be kind of like the same places. So I was hanging out with him. My aunt saw us. My aunt saw us, and that same night, she called me on the phone and she said, "Luis, I would like to talk to you." So I went to her house, and she tells me that God gave her a vision, and that in her vision, God had told her that I was in a bad place and that she needed to help me. And she said that, "Luis, you are either an alcoholic, a drug addict, or homosexual." And then she went through, "You're not an alcoholic. I don't think that you are a drug addict. What I think you are is a homosexual." At 18 years old, part of me really didn't want to disclose that I was gay, but there's this feeling that you just want to scream to the world that you're gay, and I definitely had that feeling inside of me. So eventually, after like 2.5 hours of talking to my aunt, I came out to her and I said, "Yes, I'm gay." That started a series of events that I call them my nightmare years. My aunt didn't like the news. She eventually told my parents. My parents did everything in their hands to prevent me from being gay. From physically abusing me to psychologically abusing me, from taking me to conversion therapy. I was subjected to all sorts of violence to stop me from being who I was, who I am. On September 29 of 2007, almost 10 years ago, I went out with one of my friends to a gay bar. And this was one of the few times that I went to a gay bar in Ecuador because I was always afraid of being harmed or that somebody would do something to me. That same night, I was having a drink with my friend, and I was approached by this very beautiful man who started talking to me and who eventually offered me a drink. I took that drink, and that was the last thing I remember. The next thing I remember, I woke up behind the wheel of my, behind the driver's wheel in my car, steering wheel, and I am bleeding. I have a cut on my face. My lips are bleeding. and I realized that my car had crashed against a light post. I had a light post right on top of the car. The friend that I was hanging out with was in the back, unconscious. I regained some strength, get out of the car, and I realized that somebody had attempted to murder me and my friend. They had written on the side of the car the word maricon, which means faggot in Spanish. And if it wouldn't have been for the light post that we hit, I would not be here telling you this story today. And this is the moment when I decided that I needed to leave my country. At 21, I made arrangements, I applied for a visa, and eventually I came to the US, hoping that I would find a place that would accept me like I was, and I would find safety. When I arrived in the US, which was August 1st of 2008, I only had $200 in my pocket and nothing else. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any family members here. But eventually I found out about asylum, or what is commonly known as refugee status. And I applied for asylum here in the US in December of 2008, and about 9 months later, I was granted asylum. So I became a refugee. I became a refugee because I was afraid of going back to Ecuador and subjected to murder, subjected to violence, to all of those horrible things that I was subjected to because of being gay. So being gay for me changed my life. It has been such a powerful thing inside of me because it completely changed the way that I did things in the world. It separated me from my family. It separated me from the place where I was born, from the people that I knew, from the language that I spoke. English is my second language. And it really made me who I am today. Last week was 10 years since that murder attempt where I was almost killed. And you see me today, and you hear all the time from people who tell you that things will get better, and things have gotten better for me. I'm an immigration lawyer today, and I'm married, and I live in the city where I always wanted to live, and I always saw in the movies how wonderful it was to live in New York City. I go to gay bars freely. I do drag. I have a bunch of gay friends. And they're my family. They're my chosen family. So what I can tell you is that the more and more I realize how amazing it has been to be gay, and how transformative it has been for me and who I am, all I can tell you is that there were so many times, so many dark times when I was back in Ecuador, and even after when I arrived in the US, where I wanted to stop myself from being who I was. When I wanted to say, I don't want to be gay. You have no idea how many times I prayed to God to turn me straight. But now more than ever before, I'll tell you that it's worth it. The fight was worth it all along. And if you are there and you feel alone and you feel like there's nobody out there who is like you, and look, I was hundreds, thousands of miles away from where I am today. And I can tell you that it is possible. It is possible to live a life that where you are who you are in your full version, not taking away anything that society or your friends or your family tell you that you need to get rid of. So do it. Believe in who you are, believe in who you want to be, and every night, not only if you're afraid and alone, try to think about my story, and then try to think about all the hundreds of stories that you can get on this website and that you hear about it all the time. Because I'll tell you, it is possible. It is possible to be happy as a gay man and to be happy as an LGBT person.